Oh yeah, back in the seat, baby. For another week. How's it going, people? Back with you with the HTG podcast, following one hell of a Masters week. Was really hoping for a bit more drama on Sunday, especially seeing how packed of a leaderboard we had. After Friday night, really, was when we got to see just how packed that leaderboard was. A little bit of a strange Masters event in that we had split tees. We had some weather delays. We had, some rounds being pushed into days they normally wouldn't be pushed into, right? A lot of folks had to finish their Thursday round on Friday or had to finish their Friday round on Saturday, whatever the case may have been. They grinded through it, and they grinded through it to all witness an unbelievable performance by DJ. I mean, it feels like recently here we've had some of the strongest performances in major championships over the last decade that I can really remember, and maybe that can delve into the conversation of, are we going to see some flight restricted balls on the PGA Tour at some point in time? Are we going to see, some rule manifested or something change within the equipment to keep these guys from bombing the ball as deep as they are? Because, man, some of these major championship performances are getting ridiculous. DJ gets to 20 under. He is the third player to get it to 20 under in a major championship. That is the best finish in relation to par in major championship history. The other two golfers to have done it, Jason Day did it first in the 2015 PGA Championship. I believe that was Whistling Straits. Yeah, I believe it was Whistling Straits. And Stenson in 2016 at the Open Championship got to minus 20 at Royal Troon. So, man, again, over the last decade, we've been seeing some crazy performances in major championships, people pushing up to that minus 20 number. And look, we've known that DJ is live at the Masters for quite some time now. He bombs it around Augusta. He has every single skill set and tool needed to succeed around Augusta. And honestly, DJ is sort of like JT at this point. If they bring the putter with them, they're probably going to win. They'll certainly contend at the very least, but if the putter's going for DJ, if the putter's going for JT, these are guys that are so strong tee to green that really the only question mark is, are they going to hole enough putts to get a win? And DJ absolutely hold enough putts to get the win this week. Around Augusta, you're going to have to hole a lot of par savers in order to really keep yourself at the top of the leaderboard there, in order to avoid too many mistakes. There are going to be par-saving putts, and DJ made a good majority of those. DJ set a Masters tournament record by only making 4 bogeys for the entire week, which also, given the green complexes around Augusta National, a ridiculous accomplishment and feat for DJ there. And he also led the field in greens and regulation. That's back-to-back tournament winners. Tiger led the field in greens and regulation last year in his 2019 Masters win. DJ leads the field this year in greens and regulation hit at Augusta. So, yeah, if you can find the greens and regulation, which DJ did, and when you don't, you're able to scramble and make those putts for par, which DJ was also able to do, only making 4 bogeys on the entire week. Yeah, you're going to see... that's the recipe for getting a win. And on top of that, you're going to see some pretty gaudy numbers put up like DJ put up. And the rest of this field really did battle. Cam Smith was an absolute magician around the greens. I mean, this guy's short game is top notch, especially his bunker game. A lot of Australians and Kiwis, New Zealanders, are known to have pretty strong bunker games. And Cam Smith seems to have that trend going in the same direction. He looked unbelievable out of the bunkers and really all around the greens. And his ability to scramble for birdies on Sunday when he was putting his tee shots in the woods, he was putting his tee shots in precarious positions where he had to either flight the ball over trees or flight the ball low and hook it or cut it around trees. And he just kept hitting shot after shot after shot. Unfortunately, DJ was flawless, right? He was not going to be caught. Nobody was going to catch DJ this week, unless JT could have gotten some more putts to fall, or if Bryson DeChambeau played Augusta like it was a par 67. I'm sure you guys have heard pre-tournament, Bryson, said that Augusta plays as a par 67 to him, given his length off the tee. He took a lot of flack for that, and particularly after, posting a not so stellar opening round there on Thursday. He had to finish his first round on Friday morning, and after finishing a not so stellar opening round, people let Bryson, feel the heat on social media, and rightfully so. Bryson started to complain about a stomach ache and headaches after coming into this week talking about how much he's going to dominate the course. And of course, with the pandemic right now, with COVID-19, especially being in the state that it's in, I don't want to deny that Bryson wasn't feeling well or that he wasn't being honest, but you got to just keep your fucking mouth shut at that point, Bryson. I mean, all you've told us all week long leading up to the Masters was about how you're going to use your length to basically just beat this golf course like it's never been beaten before. Calling it a par 67 was a bit of a sign of disrespect. And if you're going to say something like that, then I certainly don't want to hear about your headache or your tummy hurting when the golf course bites back. So Bryson still a solid finish. As a matter of fact, finished the tournament 3 under in a tie with, of all people, Bernhard Langer, the 63-year-old who averaged 250 yards off the tee, was able to shoot the same score as Bryson DeChambeau, who was averaging almost 100 yards more than him off the tee. So that just goes to show you that Augusta's not all about length. With that being said, really hoping people overreact to the performance from Bryson this week. I mean, he played just about as poorly as he could have, and he still had maybe like a top 35 finish. So when April rolls around, we're definitely going to want to pay attention to see what the sentiment publicly is on Bryson, because, I mean, without that debacle of his lost ball, which if you guys haven't seen that, Bryson had a ball that was lost by the spotters. The spotters didn't locate it when it landed. He was allotted, of course, his 3 minutes to look for the ball. They were unable to find the ball, at which point it is deemed lost. So Bryson has to go back to the point where he hit his last shot, take a penalty stroke. So it's stroke and distance. So he's losing the penalty stroke and has to go back and play from where he played his last shot from. And to make matters worse, the spotters shortly thereafter found his ball, and one spotter was dumb enough to walk that ball up to him on the next tee before he hit his next tee shot. So, I mean, bad stroke of luck, absolutely. Still, by the same token, I don't want to hear it, Bryson, about your stomach hurting, about your head hurting. I understand you caught a bad break with the lost ball there. Golf is all about bad breaks. It happens. Bryson knows this. He's, I'm sure, experienced enough of them throughout his career. Bad breaks happen. So you just got to, forgive and forget as much as you can and move on. And Bryson wasn't really able to do that this week. That lost ball situation really just seemed to end his tournament at that point in time. So really interested to see if people overreact to Bryson's performance this week, because I think he's just as live for the Masters in April as he was coming into this week, especially if he can maintain some sort of solid form going into the Masters in April. There's no reason to take too much away from this performance from Bryson in a negative light. If anything, really, he just gets 4 more rounds at Augusta under his belt, a better understanding of what that golf course can play like in softer conditions. Just more data points for the mad scientist to put into his algorithm. So certainly be looking at Bryson come April, but for this week, hey, man, you just got to take your medicine. You called it a par 67. The course came up and got you. It is what it is. A guy who came in we expected nothing from him coming in, and he looked pretty damn good, was our boy, Eldrick, Tiger Woods. I mean, aside from number 12 on Sunday, which was an absolute debacle. If you haven't seen that, Tiger took a 7 over 10 on the par 3 12th on Sunday. I mean, it is what it is. He dumped 3 shots into the water, hit a poor chip. I don't know. I hope that it doesn't bring any demons for him when he steps up to 12 for the first time in April. But what I will say is that he quickly put it behind him on Sunday because he went to birdie 5 of his last 6 holes to close the tournament. So love to see the performance that we saw out of Tiger this week. I mean, he came in with zero form, like zero things moving in the positive direction. I didn't touch him in DraftKings. I didn't touch him in the betting market. I honestly, the only play I considered making on Tiger Woods in the betting market was for him to miss the cut. Yeah, that is how bad things were for him coming into this event. And for him to have the performance he did, he is absolutely live for Augusta in April. And honestly, it might not even matter what his form looks like coming into that event. I mean, coming into this event as poor form as he was, as poor form as he was, I'm not really concerned about form moving forward for Tiger Woods going into a Masters. I mean, it almost could not get worse than the form coming into this event. So I would love to see Tiger get a little bit of solid form coming into the 2021 edition, which will be played at, the normal time of year. We see the Masters in April. If we can get any form going for Tiger, I really think that 16th major is a possibility in April because, man, he looked damn good and really comfortable around Augusta once again, and it was really good to see. Wish I would have had the stones to fire him up in DraftKings, and as a matter of fact, really didn't matter. He wasn't a piece you needed for the Millionaire Maker, but 2 pieces you did need to win the Millionaire Maker, to win the $1 million, were Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith. So those were 2 pieces that we had tons of, that we were definitely touting really heavily coming into the week, right? Let you guys know, even at DJ's inflated ownership, how mispriced he was. And Cam Smith as well, just mispriced down there in the low 7K range. His ownership started to back up a little bit, started to lower throughout the week. And in that ownership article I posted last Wednesday night before we teed off on Thursday, I let you guys know that, hey, looks like the ownership's backing off on Cam Smith. We're all systems go here. So 2 pieces that you absolutely needed if you wanted to win the Millionaire Maker, DJ and Cam Smith, and we were all over those guys. Had some other really, really strong plays. Again, Patrick Reed showing up for us at the Masters with a very strong performance. Really the only player that we wish we would have had, but, we were fading debutantes this past week, was Sung Jae, who came in T2. Did it really by scrambling his balls off. I mean, he was sort of in the vein of Cam Smith, except maybe hit the ball a little more poor than Smith did on approach. But both those players, Sung Jae and Cam Smith, their T2 was done mainly through the short game. I mean, their ability to scramble and their around the green games were unreal this week, and they hit so many shots that were so much fun to see, especially on Sunday. They were hitting some chip shots that, you and I as amateurs could drop a bucket of balls and not hit some of these chip shots that these guys were hitting. So Cam Smith and Sung Jae, great work around the greens this past week. DJ and Cam Smith doing awesome things for our DraftKings lineups, allowing at least some of them to cash, even though Francesco Molinari tanked our really good lineups last week, which was a damn shame. Would be nice to see him return to form, after that career year he had, about 18 months ago when he was in unbelievable form. Would really like to see Molinari, start to find more form again and start to be able to compete in these elite events. But for the time being, looks like the game's still broken for Molly. So we're going to have to keep that in mind moving forward. But yeah, all in all, a fun Masters. Again, was hoping that Friday we would have I was hoping that we would have a little more of a packed leaderboard on Sunday, given what we saw of the leaderboard on Friday. A lot of the world's top players were jumbled up in that 9, 8, 7 under range. I was thinking we would have a showdown there at the end, but DJ just really lapped the field, and he did it through amazing tee to green play and as well as being able to hold those clutch par putts when he needed to. So kudos to DJ. That's his 2nd career major, and I suspect we're going to see him pile up a couple more. He's a guy who he has all the tools to win the career Grand Slam. I mean, he just does. He's got the game that can get it done. So wouldn't surprise me to see him tack on a couple more majors within the next couple years. And, from there, we're talking about DJ as certainly a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame golfer. He's probably there already. And if he can tack on some more majors here, then he's only doing himself a favor as far as moving up the legacy of golf and PGA Tour history. So that'll put a bow on the 2020 Masters. Looking forward to the 2021 Masters, guys. I'm telling you, Tiger's going to be live. I'll definitely be having some pieces of Tiger Woods, regardless of form, coming into the 2021 Masters. But for now, let's get to the task at hand. The golf tournament for this week is the RSM Classic. So before we get into the 2020 RSM Classic, I'm going to finally spark our joint for the day. Today I'm smoking Funfetti. The grower's Riverview Farms. Funfetti's an indica dominant hybrid. This one's testing at 21.48% THC. So yeah, another one that's going to hit pretty hard. Should be a pretty good one. So let's go ahead and do our lighter trick. And again, just falls right off. No crutch in this joint too, so we'll see how it holds up. I'll prove it. Yeah, no crutch in that thing. So testing the rolling skills today, folks. Ooh, very tasty. Funfetti, I believe it's a hybrid strain that's a cross between cherry pie and some other shit. So I can sort of taste that sort of cherry pie-ish, that fruity type of flavor. It's good. Okay, the 2020 RSM Classic. We're playing at Sea Island Golf Course. So Thursday and Friday is going to be a rotation. We're playing the Seaside and Plantation golf courses. So half the field will play the Seaside golf course on Thursday, and the other half will play the Plantation course on Thursday. And then they'll swap on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, the weekend rounds for those players that do make the cut, those will be played on the Seaside golf course. Tournaments in Sea Island, Georgia. So interesting with the November version of the Masters. We get back-to-back tournaments here in Georgia here. A bit of a Georgia swing, if you will. The Seaside golf course, par 70, plays at 7,055 yards. The Plantation golf course is a par 72, playing at 7,058 yards, and we will be playing on Bermuda greens on both golf courses. So only 3 yards of difference in the golf courses, but the Seaside playing at a par 70. So as you can imagine, the Seaside is going to be a bit longer. It is the more difficult golf course. The Plantation will be the slightly easier golf course, but neither course is particularly difficult. Tyler Duncan's our defending champion. He won the event at -19 last year in a playoff over Webb Simpson. And we'll get all 4 par 5s on that Plantation course, with it being a par 72. We'll only get 2 par 5s on the Seaside course, with it being a par 70. But both of those par 5s on the Seaside course are reachable in 2. So it's not like the Seaside course is going to play as some sort of monster or anything like that. It just will, or at least should, play at least a couple shots more difficult than the Plantation course. So if you have some guys that are going off of the Seaside course first, don't be too concerned if they're looking like they're a few shots behind, because they are playing the more difficult golf course. And I do talk about tee time sort of weather stacks. Will be more important when we get a rotational a tournament that has rotational golf courses like this. That makes it more important than ever. Because, for example, if we take all guys that are playing the Seaside golf course on Thursday and they get good weather, and then on Friday they're all on the Plantation course, and the Seaside course has bad weather, then you can expect that the scoring average on the Seaside golf course between Thursday and Friday might be significantly different. And with the Seaside course being the exposed golf course, playing sort of links style in a way, it could be super important. I mean, that could change the scoring average on the golf course by a few shots even, if wind and weather conditions pick up from Thursday to Friday on the Seaside course. The Plantation course, a little more not as exposed to the elements, not as exposed to the wind, a little more tree lined, certainly an easier golf course. So if you can sort of take a look at the weather forecasts, and right now we're seeing 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, small potential for rain all week, but we should get through the week dry. But if you start to see some weather patterns for either Thursday or Friday, try to get the golfers that are playing the seaside golf course in the better weather, in the calmer wind conditions, the calmer overall conditions. If we can get our guys on the seaside golf course in those conditions, we might have a huge advantage this week. Which is, again, it's pretty unique. You really only have this specific opportunity, or this good of an opportunity, at events where we're playing some sort of rotational golf courses, like for example the American Express, right, where they're out in the desert in California and they're rotating between La Quinta and those PGA West courses. These give you some opportunities to maybe take advantage of weather on a particular golf course. So the prototype of golfer that succeeds around this golf course, again, pretty easy courses, all in all, especially the Plantation course. So you're not going to need, pretty easy and pretty short. So you're not going to need a ton of distance, first and foremost. So we don't have any real distance metrics that we're leaning on this week. We're really looking for guys that play target golf pretty well, quote unquote. And we want guys that can putt this week, as a matter of fact, because if you can get hot with the putter, you can be live here. I already mentioned that you don't have to hit it very far. So if you can, just give yourself decent looks at birdies and get hot with the putter, it's going to be a birdie fest. So you're likely going to need a hot putter to get the win this week. These statistics that we're going ahead and loading into our model are strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained ball striking, strokes gained putting, and strokes gained on approach. So while you don't have to be a bomber of the golf ball, I definitely want you to be a consistent ball striker. Webb Simpson comes to mind, right? That is actually the prototype that you want to follow. A Webb Simpson type of golfer, a guy who is a phenomenal ball striker, but doesn't gain distance on the field and can get ridiculously hot with the putter. That's the prototype that we're looking for this week, guys. So we will go ahead and get into it. As a matter of fact, I'm recording this on Wednesday morning, so if you guys already entered some lineups, I saw Henrik Norlander withdrew. And let me actually get a drink of water real quick, guys. So he was actually a play that I liked in the SCHWAG bag, but he withdrew today, tested positive for COVID-19. So Henrik Norlander has withdrawn. So if you had him in a lineup, you should go ahead and get him the fuck out. And I'll have some pivots for you guys, of course, down in the SCHWAG bag here that you can pivot to if you are someone that has already rostered Henrik Norlander. All right. And with that, we can get to the top shelf plays. And our first top shelf plays are $10,000 or more in DraftKings pricing. Our first top shelf play, and I've already mentioned him, he's the guy we're looking to basically emulate with all the other plays that we're making this week. It is Webb Simpson at the top of the pricing at $11,200, 35.8% projected ownership. And I've already told you why I like Webb so much as a play, right? In an event where you don't need distance off the tee, but you need to be a great ball striker, it absolutely screams Webb Simpson. Webb third in this field over the last 24 measured rounds, tee to green, 33rd on approach, 21st in ball striking, 11th in putting. And we have to keep in mind, we're at a significantly weaker field this week. So some of the strokes gain data, I've mentioned this in tournaments before, some of the strokes gain data for some of these guys are in weak fields. Some of the strokes gain data for some of these guys are in extremely strong fields, like the Masters, the US Open, those FedEx Cup playoff events, right? So Webb is, of course, one of those guys whose data is being pulled from very, very strong fields. So for him to still stat out this well, kind of surprised me a little bit. I was expecting, maybe because he was in such strong fields for him to look not as strong in the modeling, but he still looks phenomenal. And by the way, guys, we're gonna have to keep in mind that for many players, the modeling is going to be important as far as what type of fields they've been playing in recently. we're just gonna have to take it with a grain of salt, right? But yeah, Webb, of course, as the prototype for what we want to see around this golf course, I have no concerns firing him up, even at that 35.8% projected ownership, which seems crazy. And it's crazy. It's one of the highest that we've seen since I've been doing the podcast. And it might, if he does come in at that number, that might be the highest ownership we've seen since I've been doing the podcast. But, in a field this week, he's certainly the class of the field. And he's a great course fit. On top of that, he has great tournament history here. Webb came solo second last year, solo third in 2019. So, yeah, a third in 2019, a second last year. It seems like he might be building to the win here in this version of the event. I'll go a little 3-2-1 here with Webb. Yeah, I mean, he has so much win equity, and even if he doesn't win the event, he's a guy that makes tons of birdies and can score DraftKings points in bunches. His ownership's actually going to be high enough to the point where if you're playing cash games and not tournament games, and we rarely talk cash here, I'm usually, when I'm talking my plays, I talk tournament plays. You have to play Webb in cash this week. You just have to. You're just kind of backed into a corner there. In tournaments, you could fade him and look to a guy like a Sungjae or Fleetwood. Sungjae obviously played really well at the Masters. A lot of that, as I mentioned, was through scrambling. Fleetwood looked better at the Masters than he has of late, but still the ball striking statistics just aren't there. On a pure ownership play, you could go to a Sungjae or a Fleetwood. If you're not feeling the ownership on Webb in tournaments. But if I were going to fade Webb in tournaments, I would just go to a completely different pricing tier. I would go to a completely different lineup construction. I would just probably play, start my lineups off in that high 9K range or something like that and play more of a balanced build because I don't really like Sungjae or Fleetwood this week. Maybe a couple of these other guys that I'll mention in the top shelf plays you could pivot to off of Webb. But again, that's looking more to a different lineup construction at that point. Really, the pivots from Webb are to Sungjae or Fleetwood, and I don't like either of them, which is another reason why I am willing to get up to this ownership on Webb, even at the 35.8%. So Webb Simpson, I mean, if I had to pick someone to win this event, I would pick Webb to win this event. I'm not sure what his betting odds are. They are probably egregious. If I had to guess, he's probably maybe like 8-1 to win or something like that. Even if he is 8-1 to win, I might scoop that up. I'm not someone who touts favorites or even like betting an 8-1 in a golf tournament. I'm not someone that'll do that very often, but this spot seems like lock and load for Webb. So it's something I'll consider doing. And even at his chalk ownership, I'll just hope and pray that people get scared from the ownership and he starts to trend downward and we start to get maybe a bit of a discount on Webb from his current ownership. But hey guys, I love him. I love him to the point that regardless of ownership at this point, unless of course he gets to something ridiculous, which I don't foresee it happening. If he somehow starts to get north of 40%, which I don't see happening, then I might rethink my position. But for now, Webb Simpson, $11,200, our first top shelf play, and in a vacuum, my favorite player in this event. And even taking pricing into account, still might be my favorite play because of the win equity he carries. The next top shelf play, Mr. Terrell Hatton, $10,400 price tag, 17.6% projected ownership. Hatton, again, we're beating a dead horse here. We're going to talk about the prototype, and that's Webb. Who plays similarly to Webb? In a lot of ways, it's Terrell Hatton. They both gain a lot through approach. In a lot of ways, Hatton's sort of the poor man's Webb in that he's just quite not as good of a putter as Webb is. Aside from that, their ball striking statistics pretty similar. Hatton 12th tee to green over the last 24 measured rounds, 8th on approach, 6th in ball striking, 22nd in putting. So he has been running a pretty hot putter. Not as good as Webb, but at least he's been running a pretty hot putter, which we love to see. Coming into an event where you're going to have to make a ton of birdies. So the putter's going to have to be relatively hot if you're going to come away with a win. You can't be cold with the putter in a birdie fest. It's just not going to work out. So Hatton's certainly statting out very well. Hasn't played this event before, but doesn't really concern me all that much. It's not like we're playing Augusta, right? It's not like there's some crazy green complexes that Hatton's going to have to learn and angles that he's going to have to learn to come into these greens at. I mean, there will be some of that, but nowhere near to the degree that it's required at Augusta National. So debutantes at this event, I'm not concerned about them, especially when they have the skill set and talent level of Tyrrell Hatton. So Tyrrell Hatton, $10,400. Yeah, he's statting out very similarly to Webb. You get an $800 discount from Webb to Hatton, which is significant, and you're getting a huge ownership discount, obviously, at the 17.6% for Hatton. But I do still significantly like Webb more. I just have a lot more trust in Webb this week, and I don't know. I just, even at double the ownership and an $800 price increase, I really feel like Webb Simpson's walking away holding the trophy. It shocks me that he hasn't won this event before, so just seems to all be lining up for Webb. But if you want to go ahead and make an ownership pivot, Tyrrell Hatton, $10,400, 17.6% projected ownership might be where I look. And the last play in the top shelf is Russell Henley, $10,100 price tag, 22.7% projected ownership. Surprised to see Henley coming in with higher ownership than Hatton, just because I consider Hatton to be a better class of player. And the $300 price tag difference, really not all that significant in this field. Once we get down to the bottom, a lot of guys start to look pretty similar, even though they're priced a few $100s apart. So being able to pivot down at the bottom allows you some salary up at the top, especially when you're only talking about a $300 pricing difference between Hatton and Henley. Henley is statting out stellar. Let's see here. Henley's 4th overall on our model, 1st tee to green, 1st on approach, 2nd in ball striking over the last 24 measured rounds. So he's been hitting the absolute shit out of the ball. 55th in putting, not great, especially all the way up at this price tag. But when you have the ball striking numbers that Henley does to back up this price tag, that's good. So, you know, I want to see if Henley has been playing the strong fields that some of these other guys like Hatton has been. Last played at the Houston Open, where he came 29th. Played at the Zozo, played at the CJ Cup, and played phenomenally. My goodness, gained 13.4 strokes tee to green at the Zozo. Yeah, so Henley is absolutely striping the ball. Yeah, no reason not to fire him up. 22.1% projected ownership. I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit and say, you know, Henley and Hatton, probably comparable plays for me right now. I do think Hatton the better class of golfer, but Henley with this recent form is just popping my eyes right now. So while I would lean Hatton just for the ownership discount, Henley looking like another good top shelf play, $10,100 price tag, 22.7% projected ownership. And if you're comfortable dipping all the way down into the SCHWAG bag, we have a few SCHWAG bag plays that we like this week, or at least that we think are viable this week. Then maybe you can grab two guys up here. Maybe you can start with a Webb Henley, or certainly you can start with a Hatton Henley. That's going to be possible. But a Webb Hatton or a Webb Henley, let's see if that's possible. Webb Hatton's going to leave you $7,100 left per golfer. And I think we can actually get away with that this week. And a Webb Henley is going to leave you with $7,175 left a golfer. Yeah, so over your last 4 golfers, you're going to have to dip into the SCHWAG bag for at least a couple of those guys, but then you can polish that off with a couple mid-shelf plays. Yeah, that's not impossible. I think that's actually a viable path to taking down the GPP this week. Grabbing a couple guys up top here and then getting a little different by playing some low-owned guys down there in the SCHWAG bag or in the bottom range of the mid-shelf plays. So Russell Henley, again, finishing off our top shelf plays, $10,100, 22.7% projected ownership. I'm going to re-spark. I'm going to get a drink of water, and then we're going to get into our mid-shelf plays. Mid-shelf plays below $10,000 in DraftKings salary, but $7,500 and above. So those price $7,500 to below 10K. Mark. Try to pace myself this week. I feel like most weeks I just start sucking the joint down and then I'm like super stoned off the rip. Pace ourselves a little bit this week, guys. Have a plan of attack. All right, let's get on to the mid-shelf plays, shall we? The first mid-shelf play. And we played them last week, and we played them with mixed results last week, made the cut on the number. It's Matthew Fitzpatrick, $9,900, 11.9% projected ownership. And I'm not going to get into Fitzpatrick too much because I've already told you we're trying to play golfers that, would benefit from a tournament that Webb Simpson would benefit from. And that's obviously Fitzpatrick, a guy who is a good ball striker, but does not hit the ball long in any way, shape, or form. So he's definitely going to benefit from playing a golf course where distance is being mitigated, right? Distance is being minimized, or at least the importance of distance is being minimized. So Fitzpatrick, another debutant at this event. But again, I'm not worried about debutantes. He is a very, very solid player. Again, another sort of poor man's Webb Simpson in the respect that good ball striker, can get hot with the putter, not very long off the tee, but that's all right for us this week. So Fitzpatrick, $9,900, 11.9% projected ownership. I like him a bit more, or at least slightly significantly more than Harris English at $9,700, 18.1% projected ownership. And English is a great tee to green player, but he isn't playing necessarily in as strong of fields as the rest of these players are. Let's see here. He did play the Zozo and the CJ Cup, so he gained 1.1 strokes tee to green at the Zozo, 3.1 at the CJ Cup. Missed the cut at the Shriners, gained 0.7 strokes tee to green. At the Zozo, he did lose strokes on approach, lost 3.6 on approach at the Zozo, lost strokes on approach at the Shriners as well. He did gain strokes on approach at the CJ Cup, though, so it's been a mixed bag a bit on the ball striking side of things for English. He is playing in some strong fields. I do take that back. He did play the Zozo and the CJ Cup here recently. It was just the miscut at the Shriners that's really the blemish on the record. But man, over his last 5, gaining 2.8 strokes tee to green. He's putting well as well. He's gained strokes putting over his last 20 events. So the long form's good. Over his last 10 events, he's gained putting as well. And he's also gained over his last 5. So the putter's been running well for quite some time now. So no reason to think that that's going to turn south anytime soon. He looks like a solid play. There are guys around here that I would prefer to English given his ownership projection. I was surprised that his ownership projection is as high as it is. But he does fit our mold, right? He does fit our mold of a guy who should succeed in a golf tournament that Webb Simpson succeeds in. So I at least wanted to mention him at this $9,700 price tag, 18.1% projected ownership, although I would rather pay up for the ownership discount on Fitzpatrick or pay down to go to this guy who's burned us plenty of time. So let's spark up for this one. At $9,500, it's Jason Day, projected for 2.8% projected ownership. Day was pretty brutal at Augusta over his second round. Whenever he finished his second round, I'm not sure if he played. Friday is clearly when he finished his second round, but I'm not sure if he had to finish his first round on Friday. I don't know if the interesting schedule was too much for him. A guy who's known to have a bit of a bulky back, right? And that's an understatement. A guy who probably benefits from being able to be in a bit of a routine as far as warm up and playing are concerned. Maybe that's what got him, and I'm willing to take a shot that's what got him, because he looked to have turned around the ball striking at the Houston Open the week prior to the Masters, a couple weeks back when he came T7. There at the Houston Open, let's see, Day was able to gain 7.4 strokes tee to green. I mean, gained 1.6 strokes on approach, so you'd like to see that a little bit better. That's where he's been struggling as of late. He's lost 2.8 strokes on approach over his last 5 measured tournaments, which obviously is not good. But we saw that approach number turn around at Houston, and maybe it is just a scheduling thing. Maybe he wasn't comfortable, having to stagger these rounds the way they were staggered at the Masters. Who knows? Who knows? It looked like, though, he was starting to turn it around at Houston, and we are getting a ridiculous ownership discount on Day this week. So 2.8% projected ownership, 1/9 or 1/8 the ownership of Harris English. I'll save the $200. I'll take the ownership discount, and I'll hope that Jason Day comes in the form that we saw him at the Houston Open just a couple weeks ago. Like, it wasn't forever ago. Just a couple weeks ago. So Jason Day, $9,500, 2.8% projected ownership. Fire him up, guys. The next mid-shelf play is our reigning Open champion since the Open Championship was canceled for 2020. It's Shane Lowry, $9,200, 10% projected ownership. And Lowry's been playing well recently. Made the cut at the Masters. It looked like he wasn't going to make that cut. A tournament he doesn't normally perform very well in, and he got his way around Augusta pretty decently, better than he ever has before, at least, which says something about his current form, right? So in our model for Lowry, he's coming in 14th, 24th in strokes gained tee to green, 19th on approach, 19th in ball striking, and 64th in putting over the last 24 measured rounds. And Shane Lowry baseline, I'd imagine better putter than 64th, at least to me he is. Don't have the data in front of me right now long term, but I think of Shane Lowry as a fairly good putter, especially amongst the names I see in this field. So I'd imagine that he's just running kind of poorly with the putter right now. So I think there's upside for even more. So I read the ball striking statistics, but I think there's upside for even more than that 64th in strokes gained putting. So if we get that, then we can expect Lowry to pay off at a $9,200 salary. He is a phenomenal world-class golfer. Again, he is your reigning Open champion, champion golfer of the world. So $9,200, fair price tag in this field, 10% projected ownership, about where I expected to see it. Maybe I thought some people might bake in his recent result at the Masters as a bit more of a success because of the struggles he's had at Augusta recently. So I thought maybe he might come in a bit higher owned than this. So I was actually happy to see Lowry towing the line of single digits. And if we can get Lowry at single digit ownership, he's going to be a play I'm just going to like even more. So we'll keep tracking the ownership on Lowry throughout the day. But even at 10%, I'm absolutely comfortable rostering Shane Lowry this week. The next player I like, and unfortunate that we didn't get to see him last week at the Masters, but he is back from COVID. Joaquin Niemann, $9,100 price tag, 12.2% projected ownership. And of course, coming back from COVID, you have to weigh that risk for what you think it's worth. For me, I'm not too concerned about it. I imagine that, he's probably had enough time to practice, get back up to speed, and come out here and be Joaquin Niemann. And if I'm wrong, then I don't have to spend too many shares on him because he's only projected at 12.2% ownership. And that's really nice. So a guy who just isn't a class ball striker in this field. He does move it out there a bit distance-wise, so what he would normally be gaining as far as his distance off the tee in this event, not as important, but Niemann's a good ball striker. He came T65 here in his only try in 2019, which I mean, at least he made the cut, right? It was his first time being around this golf course, and he's a significantly better golfer than he was at that time in 2019. So yeah, I mean, I can certainly get behind Joaquin Niemann. He's coming sixth in the model, seventh tee to green, 32nd on approach, fifth in ball striking, 33rd in putting. So he's even putting decently well. There's no reason not to like Joaquin Niemann at this price and at this projected ownership. Again, the only yellow flag, I'll call it, because I'm not ready to call it a red flag, would be that he is coming back from COVID, but he's doing so relatively quickly, and I believe he was asymptomatic as well. So I imagine that, you know, once he got his your all systems go, you know, his negative result, that he was probably just out there practicing, ready to go. So if we get an ownership discount based on Niemann returning from COVID, I'm all cool with that. There are actually people that played the all COVID team in the Masters Millionaire Maker. They played all people that were returning from COVID or had tested positive for COVID earlier in the season. The idea being that if there's some sort of widespread, you know, breakout of COVID, the guys that already have the antibodies or recently have the antibodies will be able to play or will test negative, and then they'll significantly shrink the field. Just something to think about. I would never actually employ that strategy, but just wanted to bring it up to you guys and something to think about. But to the note I was going to make was the all COVID team at the Masters actually performed decently well. And for me, that says, you know, maybe I don't need to take as much stock in a guy returning from COVID, especially when they come back relatively quickly and seem to do so with no, you know, super long lapse in practice time or loss of energy or anything of that nature. So until I hear something like that for Niemann, I'm fine firing him up at this price tag and ownership. The next mid-shelf play, if it ever wants to come up, is Sebastian Munoz, $9,000 flat, 18.3% projected ownership. Munoz had a great Masters. I saw Pat Mayo had a book made a mistake, and he grabbed a 2,500 to 1 on Munoz to win the event with the top 5 each way. So I was pulling for Mayo to be able to cash that bet. Unfortunately, Munoz sort of fell apart there on Sunday, but still, great event for Munoz, who had been hitting the ball really well and looks to be a solid young player, man. Like, Munoz is really making some strides in his game over the last 12 months. Coming in 23rd in the custom model, 22nd tee to green, 25th on approach, 40th in ball striking, 62nd in putting. So we can just get Munoz to run a hot putter this week. The ball striking statistics are where we need to see them. So yeah, I like Munoz. Wish he could have come through last week for Mayo. That would have been something to see for the community. But at least Munoz is coming in great form at the Zozo, gained tee to green at the CJ Cup, at the Shriners, at Sanderson, and he's gained at least 3.6 strokes tee to green in all of those events, and as many as 6.9 strokes tee to green. So he's absolutely striping the ball. Love him as a play this week. The recent form's obviously good. So Sebastian Munoz, $9,000 flat, 18.3% projected ownership. Yeah, I'm all about it. The next play, and I'm shocked by this ownership projection, Corey Connors, $8,900, 12.9% projected ownership. I'm going to call bullshit. I think he's going to come in much higher owned than this. I thought he was probably going to come in close to 20% owned. I mean, Connors had a ball striking clinic after he struggled at the Masters on Thursday, ended up with a top 10 finish. I mean, he was the round of the day on Friday. The guy can't putt, and I have said that, putting will be... I said that being able to run a hot putter will be crucial this week to win. And that is, I do think that's the case. To win the event, I do think you're going to have to run at least a decently hot putter. Two things about that. At this price tag, I don't think we need Corey Connors to win. I think we just need him to hole some birdies. And you know what? If he goes awry with the putter in some small stretches, we can live with that. We just need him to score DraftKings points. Cam Champ was in the $1 million lineup at Augusta last week. That's because he made tons of birdies and outpaced his finishing position. We could get something similar like that from Connors here. Or he could just run hot with the putter. And if he does, he's absolutely live to win this event. I mean, Corey Connors is one of the best ball strikers in this field, one of the best ball strikers on tour, really. If he could ever get the putter together, he would really make strides as a player. Coming in 16th overall in the custom model, he's 8th tee to green, 23rd on approach, 8th in ball striking, and 99th in putting. So just need Connors to string together a 4 neutral or solidly positive, decently positive, like just minutely positive rounds with the putter. And he's going to be live this week, especially at an $8,900 price tag. So Corey Connors, $8,900, 12.9% projected ownership. I really like him this week, guys. I also like Jason Kokrak, $8,700 price tag, 9.4% projected ownership. Kokrak, again, he's similar to Webb, a guy who, great ball striker, will gain a bit and just like not as short of a hitter as Webb is, but not a long hitter either, like not one of the longest guys on tour. Coming in first in the custom model, 6th tee to green, 38th on approach, 11th in ball striking, and 2nd in putting over the last 24 measured rounds. Kokrak has been riding a super hot putter, so let's go ahead and grab a piece of that. I mean, when you match up a great ball striker with a hot putter, that's the recipe for winning golf tournaments. Kokrak is live this week to win this event. I would definitely go take a look at him in the betting market. If you can get something like a 45, maybe a 50 to 1, if someone would hang something like that for you, I could get behind that for Jason Kokrak. Go ahead and check DK Sportsbook, see what they have on Kokrak to win, because, yeah, riding a hot putter and being a great ball striker, again, great combo around this golf course. I do think he has poor course history. Let's take a look here. He has played the event last in 2018. He was cut. Then in 2017, he came T45 and was cut in 2016. I mean, that's a couple years back now. And maybe not riding as good a recent form in those years coming into the event as he is this year. So, yeah, Kokrak, $8,700 feels a little bit too cheap for him, even, in my opinion. So for him to be single-digit ownership at 9.4%, let's go ahead and fire up some Jason Kokrak this week, guys. I also like a guy who let us down last week a little bit. Kevin Kisner missed the cut at the Masters, $8,600 this week, 19% projected ownership. Kisner is poor man's Webb. Kisner's poor man's Webb. Likes to putt on Bermuda, so that's also going to be a plus for Kisner this week. And to top that off, he's won this event before, won it in 2016. Came T4 in 2018, T7 in 2019. So checking the course history box as well. Obviously willing to forgive and forget a miscut at the Masters. Augusta, not an easy golf course to get it around. And if you get yourself in some tough spots, you can take some numbers, right? So Kisner, even at 19%, I think we're getting a bit of an ownership discount. Actually, I know we're getting an ownership discount based on the miscut at Augusta last week. Otherwise, Kisner at this price tag would probably be pushing more in the mid 20% ownership. So let's go ahead and take the ownership discount on Kevin Kisner, $8,600, 19% projected ownership. Another player of the same mold, Brian Harman, $8,500, 16.2% projected ownership. Yeah, I mean, again, just sort of a poor man's Webb. And the tournament history shows that these types of players have success around this golf course. Harman was T14 last year, T32 in 2019, and T4 in 2018. So he was cut in 2017 and 2016. But clearly, as of late, these last 3 years, he's figured out this golf course, and he's had some relative success around it. Harman has been coming into the event in decent form. With the putter, he's 12th over the last 24 measured rounds in strokes gained putting. The ball striking numbers, however, haven't been as good. 49th strokes gained tee to green, 47th on approach, and 48th in ball striking. So you're going to need Harman to have a better week ball striking. A guy who certainly loses on the field as far as distance goes, but will hit tons of fairways and usually gains on approach. He has lost on approach over his last 20 measured rounds, but he's gained over his last 5. So at least the approach is trending in the right direction. His last 5 events, Sanderson Farms gained 0.8 on approach, Shriners gained 0.2 on approach, CJ Cup gained 2.1, the Zozo he gained 2.5, and those 2 events had fairly strong fields, so it's good to see that, and gained another 2.3 strokes on approach at the Houston Open. So yeah, Harman's certainly trending in the right direction as far as strokes gained approach goes. So let's go ahead and hop on while it seems like the approach game and the irons are getting hot. Nothing wrong with the price tag here at 8,500, 16.2% projected ownership. I was hoping for something a little bit lower, but I think it's fine right here. Zach Johnson, $8,000, 13% projected ownership. You shouldn't be surprised to hear me say his name. Again, another player like the rest of these guys I've been talking about that's going to benefit from playing a golf course where distance isn't going to be a premium is not going to be placed on distance. So yeah, Zach Johnson, I'm going to leave it there. 13% projected ownership. That's totally fine. He's one of these guys who can get hot with the putter. Good ball striker, although he loses lots of distance off the tee. So Zach Johnson, $8,000, 13% projected ownership. Doc Redman, also at $8,000 flat, 20.3% projected ownership. And TikTok Doc, he is also might be live to win this event. An event where, I mean, again, distance is not going to matter that much. So Doc Redman, who is a great short game player, a great putter, phenomenal putter, and a good ball striker, albeit he typically loses distance on the field. Coming in 8th in the custom model, 26th tee to green, 21st on approach, 9th in ball striking, 28th in putting. Can really do it all as far as what we want to see around here. And has been playing well as of late. Over his last 20 measured rounds, he's gained on approach, he's gained tee to green, he's gained off the tee. The only place he has not gained is around the green, and at this golf course, we're going to want him to go ahead and be hitting greens in regulation, so he shouldn't be having to gain around the green in order to have success around here. It really is a perfect fit for a player like Doc Redman. The one red flag that you really hate to see is at Houston. He lost 7.1 strokes tee to green at the Houston Open. That golf course was not playing all that easy. And he did lose most of that, on approach. So at least the off the tee was serviceable at 2.3 strokes gained. Losing 2.6 strokes on approach last week, though, and 7.1 tee to green is a bit concerning. But the week prior, we don't have all the strokes gain data at Bermuda, but he did gain 11.4 strokes total at Bermuda. And he gained strokes in tee to green and on approach at Shriners, Sanderson, and Safeway in the 3 events prior to Bermuda. So in general, he's in good form. We just have the one red flag with the performance at Houston, which is giving us an ownership discount this week because this golf course is a perfect fit for Doc Redman's game. And I would expect him to be much higher owned if he weren't coming off such a bad performance. He came T23 here last year, so, clearly I would imagine he can improve on that, but clearly at the very least has some relative success around this golf course. So Doc Redman, $8,000 flat is too cheap. And at that price tag, 20.3% projected ownership is not enough. So let's go ahead and fire up Redman for the salary savings. I also like Denny McCarthy, $7,700, 16% projected ownership was a little disappointing to see. I was hoping we'd get it lower than that, but Denny McCarthy, one of the best putters on the PGA Tour, so let's fire him up. Let's see if he gets red hot with that putter. Came T8 last year, T46 in 2019. He was cut at this event in 2018, but as you can tell, he's having more success as the years go on here, and as he sees this golf course more. This is a total bet on whether or not Denny McCarthy will absolutely rain putts all week, which he is very capable of doing. And he can even do it to the tune of winning the event if he makes enough of them, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, we're going to have a glorified, putting contest this week. So having Denny McCarthy in your corner is not a bad idea, especially at a $7,700 price tag. Don't love the 16% projected ownership, but it's not going to make me run away. So Denny McCarthy, let's get hot with the putter this week, please, man. I also like Sepp Straka, my boy Straka Flocka Flame, coming in at $7,600, 10.6% projected ownership. A great ball striker in this field for this price tag. The tournament history is concerning for Straka, who's missed the cut both times he's tried here. Missed the cut last year and in 2019 and lost 23.44 strokes total in doing so. So yeah, obviously course history is a bit of a concern. We're not sure if it's just not fitting his eye, or maybe if he can be like one of these other guys who missed the cut in their first couple go rounds at this course and then started to figure it out. So I'm willing to, at this ownership and this price tag particularly, take the gamble on Straka starting to figure it out around Sea Island. 10.6% projected ownership at this price tag is pretty egregious for a guy that's as good of a ball striker as Straka is, relative to the field at least. So Straka coming in 15th in the custom model, 22nd on approach. So that's really what we love to see for a guy down in this pricing range. 53rd tee to green, 20th in ball striking, and 26th in putting. So riding a decently hot putter as well right now, which we like to see. Yeah, I expect Straka to have more success around Sea Island than he has in his career previous, and to get a little sprinkling of them to get at this 10.2% projected ownership shouldn't be very difficult. So Sepp Straka, 10.6% projected ownership, I'm sorry. So Sepp Straka, $7,600, 10.6% projected ownership. And that takes us to our last mid-shelf play. Austin Cook, the cookie, $7,500, 9% flat is his projected ownership. And Cook, again, a guy who's going to benefit when distance is a premium is not being placed on distance. Distance isn't going to matter as much. Austin Cook's going to find more success. 29th in our custom model, 46th tee to green, 34th on approach, 33rd ball striking, 60th with the putter. Austin Cook can certainly bring us more upside than that with the putter in this event, if you can just find a little bit more form with that club. So yeah, while I don't love Austin Cook necessarily, I do think he's a decent pivot off of some of these other guys down in this pricing range, given that we're getting him at single-digit ownership at that 9% projection. And Cook has won this event in 2018. Yeah, he won the event in 2018, came T11 in 2019, T61 last year, so he's made the cut all three times he's played it, and won the event as a debutant, which you love to see. So provides the upside of being able to win the event. If we can just get a little hotter with the putter, we're getting them at single-digit ownership. I'm willing to take that gamble at single-digit ownership. So Austin Cook, $7,500, 9% projected ownership is our last mid-shelf play. And after I get some water and spark back up, we get into my favorite part of the show, always, as you guys know, the SCHWAG bag. The SCHWAG bag plays $7,500, or I guess under $7,500 in DraftKings pricing. We'll throw some bombs out for you guys. I love it. Paced it perfectly. In a great roll with no crutch. Kudos to me. The first SCHWAG bag play is Harold Varner III, HV3, coming in at $7,400 price tag, 16.9% projected ownership. I would really like to see this ownership stay put and not climb any further than this. $7,400 is a little cheap. Varner last played the event in 2019, came T23. Then 2016 came T68. So made the cut last two times he's played here. But Varner's really just been hitting the ball extremely well. Coming in 10th in the custom model, 2nd tee to green, 12th on approach, and 12th in ball striking in this field over the last 24 measured rounds is all I need to see at this price range. He's 86th in putting, so if we can get anything with Varner, out of Varner with the putter this week, he should definitely outscore this price tag. Yeah, even at 16.9%, I'm comfortable firing up Varner. If he eclipses 20%, I'll still be comfortable firing up Varner. I really like him in this pricing range, and I'm surprised that his ownership's not higher. A pivot off of Varner you could make if you're really into gambling hard, which I'm sure a lot of you are. Emiliano Grillo, $7,200, 4.4% projected ownership. And I mean, if you guys don't know what his deal is, he's a great ball striker. And he always has been. He is one of the worst putters on the PGA Tour. And when I ask guys to run hot with their putter, that assumes that they actually are capable of doing that. I'm not so sure that Grillo is capable of doing that, but coming in 12th in the custom model, 9th tee to green, 2nd on approach, 3rd in ball striking, 98th in strokes gained putting, and that's like that's where sort of where I expect him to finish in this field, right? Like, man, I don't know. If you just want to ride the ball striking, then more power to you, because you're going to get a very low owned golfer that is one of the best ball strikers in this field. He's a debutant making his first appearance here at this event. So who knows? Maybe something about these greens really suits Grillo, and you get to mitigate the damage done by the putter. If that's the case, then I would love him as a play. But man, it's tough to really get behind him with how poor of a putter he is proven to be long term. But Grillo, $7,200, you're getting him at 4.4% projected ownership. At least worth a look. The next mid-shelf play. I'm sorry, next SCHWAG bag play. Shit, we're down to the SCHWAG bag. Yep, Cameron Tringale, your ass is in the SCHWAG bag. $7,200, 8.4% projected ownership. Tringale has been riding a very hot putter, 8th in this field over the last 24 measured rounds in strokes gained putting. 18th overall. He's 43rd strokes gained tee to green, 30th on approach, and 46th in ball striking. So at this price tag, you'd like to see some better ball striking statistics overall. Per his long-term form, Tringale, pretty solid ball striker. He's gained on approach over his last 20 rounds. He's also gained tee to green over his last 20 rounds. So that's good to see that long-term, he is a solid tee to green player. He last played at the Houston Open, where he gained 4.3 strokes tee to green. He gained half a stroke on approach. So yeah, it's good to see that he's coming in with good tee to green form, and also riding a hot putter. So that's the recipe for success, especially down here in this pricing range. He did come T20 last year, was cut 2 years prior to that, and then came T27 back in 2017. So a mixed bag as far as recent results here, recent history at this event. But he's in good enough ball striking form, great putting form, cheap enough, and the ownership is not crazy at all at 8.4% in single digits. So Cameron Tringale, $7,200, 8.4% projected ownership, a solid SCHWAG bag play to look at this week. Next SCHWAG bag play at 7K flat, Scott Piercy is projected for 5% ownership. Piercy, another guy in the mold of Webb Simpson. Just a guy who's gonna benefit from an event where we don't have to hit it very far. It's going to be his debut here at this golf course, and I expect that he's going to like the fact that he doesn't have to be super long off of the tee. He is rating in, Piercy, 27th in the custom model, 25th tee to green, 7th on approach, 10th ball striking, and 120th with the putter. That's almost as bad as it gets in this field with the putter, 120th. We'll get to another guy later who has him beat out there. But, man, to get a ball striker this good at this price tag, I'm going to go ahead and fire him up and just hope that he comes in somewhere near neutral or doesn't lose too many strokes with the putter, because down here at this pricing range, I don't need him to win. I just need him to make some birdies. So If we can get one of these ball strikers down here in this pricing range to just make us some birdies, roll a few putts in, then we could be live to take home the top prize in GPPs this week. A similar play to Piercy with lower projected ownership is Keegan Bradley. Same price tag at $7,000 flat. 2.9% projected ownership for Bradley, though. And he was the guy I mentioned that has Piercy beat as far as strokes gained putting go. 146th in this field in strokes gained putting. So almost dead last. But he is 5th tee to green, 6th on approach, and 7th ball striking. Again, like Piercy, you're going to get a ball striker this good in this pricing range at basically no ownership. We have to take our shots where we can. Let's fire away on Piercy. Let's fire away on Bradley this week, guys. I also kind of like James Hahn, $6,900, 9.2% projected ownership. Usually in these sort of weaker fields, you'll see Hahn's name pop up on a leaderboard or two, which is always interesting. And on a course where, again, distance is not going to be as important, James Hahn can shine. He comes in 21st in the custom model, 15th tee to green, 44th on approach, 31st in ball striking, and 65th in putting. And he gives you some more upside with the putter than that 65th would suggest. So $6,900, I mean, they've priced Hahn at a point where, I can get behind playing him if you end up in this pricing range and you can't get up to Bradley or Piercy. I'd prefer, though, to just pay the extra $100 to get up to Bradley or Piercy. But James Hahn, $6,900, 9.2% projected ownership, looking like a decent play. 68%, or I'm sorry, at $6,800. Damn, let me respark this, polish this thing off. Hit the finger stinger real quick. At $6,800, Martin Laird, Party Marty, 3.6% projected ownership. The Marty Party, man, I'm a little surprised that he's all the way down here at 3.6% projected ownership at this price tag. Like, he's not hard to fit. He's just another guy who can't putt. 113th over the last 24 measured rounds in strokes gained putting for Laird, but 11th tee to green, 14th on approach, and 13th in ball striking. I mean, he won Shriners not too long ago, right? So he clearly presents us with a lot of upside. Did not play well at the Houston Open, but did gain 1.7 strokes tee to green. I don't quite understand why Laird isn't garnering any ownership. So, I mean, let's just go ahead and play the Marty Party. The guy's in good recent form. And all we need to do is let him get hot with the putter one time. He was cut from this event last year, came T54 in 2018. So those are the two times he's played the event. So the course history is not good, but I'm not really that concerned about that around this golf course. So especially a guy who, if you can get him into one of your course stacks, so players that are either playing one course one day or another course the other day, I like correlating these guys at the bottom of the pricing with that. That's really where I think it pays dividends. If you can get these guys at the bottom of the pricing range to get better weather conditions, it's going to benefit them significantly more. Some of these guys at the top of the pricing range are just so good that even if weather gets a little more difficult, they can still turn out a good performance. So really for these guys at the bottom of the pricing range is where we want to focus our efforts as far as the weather goes. So I really like the idea of getting Party Marty Laird into one of those types of stacks this week. Okay, now we get into a couple of bombs. A bomb who I feel like I mention almost every week, like he's in a weak event at least. Every time he's playing in a weak field, I feel like I mention this guy. Jason Duffner, $6,400, 1.6% projected ownership. I don't know, maybe 1 week this guy fucking luck sacks into dropping some putts, but still a great ball striker. 28th in the overall model, 12th tee to green, 11th on approach, 18th in ball striking, 135th in putting. Yeah, I mean, when it's this cheap, obviously there are going to be some pitfalls for people. So You either want to take a phenomenal ball striker like Duffner or a phenomenal putter, which there really aren't many of down here. Maybe like Andrew Putnam's a pretty good putter. Andrew Putnam, I should say, is a pretty good putter. No pun intended. But other than that, really aren't any sort of corollaries you can go with that are just great putters. So we're sort of left with great ball strikers down here. And because of that, I think I lean toward a guy like Duffner, who really is a top-notch ball striker for this field, especially at this pricing range. But he legit cannot putt. Like, he legitimately is a terrible putter. And we should not expect him to give us a better performance than the 135th, his 135th ranking suggests over the last 24 measured rounds. But who knows? Maybe luck of the dice. Maybe Duffner gets a few putts to fall around here, and next thing you know, you're looking at a top 20 or something like that. Which, I mean, at this price tag, you only need him to make the cut realistically. And if he makes the cut, you're happy. If he can give you something like a top 20, then I imagine you're absolutely jumping for joy. So yeah, maybe Duffner can luck sack into something. Let's take a look at his tournament history. He's been cut here both times he's played the event, both last year and in 2019. So also not looking good for Duffner in that respect, but he has gained strokes total, 1.97 strokes gained total in this event. He had a T9 in 2016. I was about to say, how do you get cut back-to-back years, but gained strokes? No, he had a T9 back in 2016, so a long time ago when Duffner was a different guy, but I don't know, the ball striking's still there, so if he can regain some of the magic that he clearly found on the greens there in 2016 when he came T9, then he will pay off this price tag in spades, and he's going basically unowned at 1.6%. So, Duff Daddy from the Cleveland area. Got to give my dog a shout out. And the last SCHWAG bag play is Jinjun Jang. $6,400, 1.1% projected ownership, and a fucking awesome name to say. That's fun to say. Jinjun Jang. Jinjun Jang. Yeah, pretty solid ball striker, especially for down here in this pricing range. 38th tee to green, 30th overall in the custom model, 59th on approach though. Not what you want to see. 38th ball striking and 48th with the putter. He's just doing everything just well enough to sort of pop up in our model here at 30th. Don't love the play. I'd rather go for the upside of Duffner, but as crazy as it sounds as crazy as it sounds, it's called Jinjun Jang safe, and I'm not calling him safe. I think he's safer than Duffner if you're trying to, take on a little less risk down here, and you're already taking on a ton of risk down in this pricing range, but if you want to take on a little less risk down here, I mean, Duffner is so bad with the putter that he almost has no outs. You can't, at this event, you can't be as bad as Duffner has consistently been with the putter and expect to have success. So you're really hoping that Duffner can somehow find magic with the putter. With Jinjun Jang, he sort of does everything just okay. So if he just does everything a little bit better than he has been, or if one part of his game gets really hot, then, you don't have some part of his game that's just a huge anchor like you do with Duffner. So I feel like Jang a bit safer, but I think Duffner has the higher upside, and Duffner would be my preference between the two. And that takes us to the end of the SCHWAG bag and the end of our plays for the RSM Classic. Guys, as always, I love you guys sticking with me and continuing to watch these videos. Please give the video a like, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. I really appreciate it. That really helps me. If you could also please subscribe to the podcast on either Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please do follow the podcast. Make sure you check out the videos and the articles I drop on htgpod.com. Again, the site's htgpod.com. Didn't get any screenshots for the Masters, so I imagine that no one took home anything big. So maybe not enough DJ and Cam Smith in the lineups last week, but we're going to get back to it this week, guys, and let's have a big one. I love you all as always, and peace.